Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at the LaunchPreneur Experience. And today we're going to be talking to Tiger Webster. I'm very grateful that Tiger is here with us today, and he's going to be talking about how branding is important, and especially for a lot of people that were using Facebook ads that were not seeing as many results, especially in their sales, and how the branding comes before advertising and why it's so important to have that in place. And he's gonna be sharing with us some of his industry knowledge and the mistakes that he has seen people doing, and some tips on how you can actually utilize your brand to sell more when you're creating your courses, when you're selling your high ticket offer, creating your funnel. So thank you so much, Tiger, for joining us. And I would love for you to share with the audience a little bit about what you do and how you help your clients.
Well, thanks for having me, Fernanda. And before I get started, I just have to say that I've been so impressed with just the care that you take for your audience. I've watched you kind of a little bit behind the scenes and talking to the different speakers and lining things up and making sure that things are organized and that you're getting the right messages and information to your audience. And I can tell you genuinely care about people getting results. I've been around for a long time and have seen people that just want to kind of, I don't know, sell a course for the sake of selling the course, but I have never gotten that feel with you. You genuinely care about people and care about helping them get results. So thank you for just being genuine, and it's just an absolute honor to be with you today.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes, it
Yeah.
is out of my heart. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so today we're talking about branding as it relates to like funnel marketing and creating virtual events and some of the things that I've seen over the years. Did you have a specific question to kind of open this session up?
Yeah, so one of the questions is, do you think that a branding could actually, when you are, creating your program, your advertising, or when you are creating all the, the things that goes all together, your offer, do you think branding is the first thing and message is the first thing they should be thinking about, and why?
Yes, your brand should, in a sequence, your brand should come first. And then from the brand, your marketing and advertisement should extract its identity, so to speak, from your brand. There's been a lot of confusion with oftentimes your startups, your small, mid-sized businesses, they just lump marketing, advertising, and branding into one barrel. And they just think they're all one and the same. They're not. The clearest way to define your brand is how the public thinks and feels about you. So since you and I have been on this interview, within just seconds, our audience already thinks and feels something about me, and they already think and feel something about you. And that's either by design or by default. But people are always thinking and feeling something about you the moment that they see your ad, the moment that they click onto your webinar, the moment that they search around on your website. They're automatically drawing a conclusion about you. And its branding is saying, I want to decide how they think and feel about me by design, not just by default.
I love that, because when you are intentional, you can actually create a journey for your client that is different than somebody else. And one of the things that I would love for you to kind of explain to the audience a little bit, it's about what the brand really, encompass, because I was talking to a client that she said, yeah, I need to create my branding. I need to get somebody to do my logo. And I chose two colors. And I was thinking, that's not what the brand is, right? The brand, it's like your voice and how you want to talk to who is your audience. Can you talk about what's behind, like when you're creating a brand, what that encompasses and why that's, why do you want to be intentional about it?
Okay, sure. So the colors, right? The colors would be one part. So you think about your brand like a jigsaw puzzle, right? So you and I, back when we were little, we might put that picture in the front of the box, right? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
there's a big white horse and then next to it's a small white horse, right? And we sit there and we put all the pieces of the puzzle. And what we're trying to do in that 1 hour, 3 hours, some of the jigsaw puzzles, 5 hours or more, we're trying to take what's on the front of the box and find pieces of the puzzle to look and reflect like what's on the front of the box. So
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes when people think about branding, they only think, Fernanda, about maybe 3 or 4 pieces of the jigsaw puzzle. They'll often think, I need a color palette, or I need a good logo, or a nice subtitle, or a nice, sexy website, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they think, well, I did it. I got my color palette, I got my logo, I got my subtitle, and I've got my website. Now my brand is complete. But you have to look at all of the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together. And then every time that your audience interacts with you, it's another piece of the jigsaw puzzle that's forming the picture. Now, you want them to see the full picture on the front of the box. So every time they interact with you, you're determining how they think and feel about you. So your brand is a number of different things. Now, in the interest of time, we can't really go into every single touch point of your brand, but there are so many variables involved, from color palette to logo to the quality of photography to your video production to whether you have a director, a creative director working with you on that video production, or if you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants, to even like celebrity programs and alignments and who you allow on your platform, who you don't allow on your platform, to even your voice architecture, your copywriter, your video sales letter, your level of consistency. Those are the obvious things, Fernanda. Now, those are the things that we hear a lot about, but let me touch on for just a quick minute, the things that often people don't think about, and they are just as much a part of your brand, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
Your systems, your processes, your final deliverable. Okay, you said that they're going to get, in your virtual event, they're going to get X, Y, and Z. And you said they're going to get it in a certain time frame. And it's going to come in a specific, whether it's a login, whether it's a link. And so you've made an offer. How quickly do they get the offer? How is it delivered? How do you follow up? In what way do you follow up? If there's a complaint, if there's a conflict, if there's something that goes wrong, do you take responsibility? The other day and all of that points back to how they think and feel about you as a brand. So I've watched a lot of small and mid-sized businesses, even large companies, and they have the color, they have the logo, they have the website, they have the video production, they have the celebrity alignments, they have the commercial grade photography, but their back end is messy, and they're outsourcing their calls to third world countries. They have poor customer service. And they think that only the front facing in client acquisitions determines how the public thinks and feels about you. But, I was at a coffee shop the other day, and by the time I ordered my coffee to the time that I got my coffee, it was, my gosh, I think it was like 5 or 6 minutes. And the coffee was the temperature. It was just like the wrong temperature for me. It was slow. And then I had a few specific things that I wanted in my coffee, and they acted like I was speaking a foreign language. And when I walked out of there with my coffee, I knew that I knew that they didn't have cradle to the grave loyalty, Fernando, with me, because of how slow they were, because of the temperature of the coffee, and because I didn't feel like I was first. I felt like, just me getting to the cash register, that was first, but I didn't feel like I was first. As to where when I go to Starbucks, I feel like I'm first. And if there's a mistake, they're gonna own it. The temperature is always consistent. It's always fast. And if you read the book, The Starbucks Experience, that one of the first statements that shocks everybody is Howard Schultz says, "We are not in the coffee business, we're in the people business." So that's the mission statement of Starbucks, is that they're in the people business, but then all of their processes and systems and the way that they do business is congruent with that mission statement. So now I think and feel a way about Starbucks, and so do you, that I don't think and feel about other coffee businesses, because they didn't understand how to build their brand by design. They've just kind of allowed a brand to fall in their lap by default. So the back end, your final deliverables and your systems and processes point to your brand just as much as, if not more, than your front facing marketing and advertising.
I love everything you just shared. And
thank you.
I am going to just kind of give you that perspective and how that reflects into the live events. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I was working with a client that she had this high ticket program.
Mm-hmm.
And she was, as the way that she was promoting this program,
mm-hmm.
is that she was going to support the community, the moms, to create clutter-free spaces.
Mm-hmm.
But her back end was cluttered. And the image that she had was dark. Like the rooms were, the room was dark, and she looked like she was like in this cave. So it was not really like appealing. When somebody thinks about clutter-free home, I think about white, bright, airy. And it's like, it's that feeling you're talking about when you see an image, like, how do you relate to that person? So I believe in being authentic to who you are, but there's also that cross line. Like when you're talking to moms, maybe you don't want to sound like a corporate person with those words that only a lawyer would use and wear, like the business suit, because you're talking to moms that barely have time to brush their teeth, right? But for me, for example, I am not a sandals person. I wear high heels all the time. So for me to take photography branding, to brand my business, like the business with the healthy home business, my photographer wanted me to wear sandals or no shoes and sitting on the countertop making green juices. And I was like, with this basic white t-shirt and jeans. And I'm like, that's not me. I need to be authentic, because you will attract people. Your brand, you attract people that likes that branding. If you curse, you will attract people that likes cursing. And you will repel people because you want your brand to repel as much as they attract, right? So you will repel the people that don't like cursing. But once you're authentic, that is part of the branding. And I see so many coaches trying to copy other coaches and trying to copy other styles when it's not their own. They don't have their own voice. So what I see on the back end, it's that the sales are like awful. When
Mm-hmm.
you don't have your own, when you're not authentic, you're not speaking to the audience like the way they dress, the way, the way we speak to them. Because you feel,
Mm-hmm.
as an example, if you go talk to a mom, if your style is like wearing a suit all the time, your visual, it's not really attracting the mom, because she's going to say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, wearing a suit, getting my makeup and hair done every day, I can barely get then it doesn't look like a reality for them.
Sure. Right.
Right?
Yeah,
So what
that's
you said,
very
it's so
true.
important, like with the branding, how
Yeah,
it's not just two things.
right. Yeah, as somebody has said, be an original masterpiece, not a cheap carbon copy.
Yes. So if for the audience, if they're thinking about branding and they're thinking with, you talked about the feel, the look, the logo,
Yeah.
the colors, the voice, the photography, all
Mm-hmm.
of those pieces that goes all, they're all go together. For
Yeah.
somebody that's just starting right now and they don't
Yeah.
have the budget to do, the brand photography, which today it's very affordable. It's like
Sure.
10 years ago would be like, and it's so expensive, but it's
Yeah.
just becoming something more and more affordable every day,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the phones we have, right?
Right. That's true.
So what
Yeah.
would you suggest, like for somebody that's starting right now, they're creating their courses or their membership sites, or they have their high ticket offer for coaching. What would you suggest them to get started? Like first thing they need to do?
I, I would say the first thing I would deal with the mindset for just a moment. And oftentimes I'll be working with a client, and if I use an example like Starbucks or Chick-fil-A or Mercedes or Lexus or the World Olympics, the client's like, Tiger, I don't have a multi-million-dollar budget, and that's good for those companies, but it's not, I don't have that kind of a budget, which is true. Um, but that doesn't mean, number one, success leaves clues. We've all heard that.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, it doesn't cost you anything to extract inspiration from other brands.
Mm-hmm.
And number three, I think you decide you decide if you want to be an extraordinary brand. So if you have decided that I'm going to be an extraordinary brand and I'm going to start where I am with what I have, and then build in phases, as long as you keep that as your anchor and your focus, over time you will build. But if you have a mindset like, well, I just don't have much of a budget, and you know what, I'm just going to do it, and I just hope that it works out, and these are just the pictures I have, and I can't really afford to work with a creative director, and you know what, my cousin does this, and it's just gonna be what it is, and you're always just having kind of a scarcity. I'm not extraordinary. That will begin, as you said, Fernanda, that will begin to emanate, and people will pick up what's on the inside begins to kind of exude. But if you say, you know what, I am an extraordinary brand, and this is my specific demographic, and these are the kind of people that I'm going to attract. You may have to, because of your budget, you may have to take your branding in phases, but that's okay to take your branding in phases, because if you look at a lot of the big, you search how Apple started and Amazon and Google, you see all of these guys like out of their garage, or Jeff Bezos with all these books in the back of his, car, delivering books to the post office himself with Amazon. So oftentimes we look at where a brand is 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road, and we say, I could never attain to that. But, McDonald's didn't start as a multi-national global force. They started with one, location. So do the best do your best with what you have, and then build from there and constantly reevaluate. Okay, you know what? This is my first 6 months. This is my photography. This is my logo. This is my copywriting. This is my video production. These are the people I'm aligned with. And then in that 6 months, evaluate okay, now I've got a couple of clients under my belt, or I have a little bit more. What can I do to increase by 5%? What can I do to improve? And then the next 4 to 6 months, do the same thing and constantly be asking yourself what you can do to improve. Ask other people that don't just agree with you. Ask different demographics, different genders, different age groups. Is my messaging clear? And then don't be offended. Just stay teachable, stay coachable, and know that whatever input that they give, I often say, I would rather be corrected in private than to be embarrassed in public. Mm-hmm. So whatever feedback you get in every 4 to 6 months when you're evaluating your brand, take it, adjust, and then as you make those necessary adjustments, your brand will increase over time. So it's not so much a budget as it is a mindset and a commitment to be extraordinary.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is awesome. And for me, coming from, project management, I'm an architect by trade.
Oh, wow.
Planning is everything. Like I don't start anything without the end in mind.
Sure.
So, as you're saying, planning and being resourceful, because like my photographer, we exchange services. So she takes my pictures and I give her coaching, business coaching, right? So we exchange business. So when you think about being resourceful, like I don't have the money, how can I make this happen?
Yeah.
Change your mindset. How can I make this happen? Okay, maybe I can partner up with somebody. Maybe I can trade some services. Maybe, and that makes a difference. And another thing you mentioned that I wanted to highlight, it's testing the market before you invest big money, just doing something that you think it's the right thing. I was branding myself, just copying, being inspired by other people that were just doing their advertising by numbers. I sell this much, my clients achieve this much money. And for some reason that was not aligned with me. And I feel branding needs to be aligned. Your message needs to be aligned with you. And I started doing, requesting testimonials from my clients. And I was still branding myself the way I thought the marketing, should be. And I was getting to the point where my sales calls were not that impressive because I was trying to sell them on something that everybody was selling on the numbers. And I stopped after one client said, I booked a call with you because I heard I listened to all the testimonials on your video sales page. And all of them made me feel comfortable that you will be able to deliver because the way you made them feel. And I was like, what?
Wow, beautiful.
And she said, I need somebody that I can trust, that they are going to take all of this out of my hands and it's going to be handled. That I don't need somebody just to check the box. And she said, and I like your statement when you say we're partnering launch. I feel like that coming from your clients. And I'm like, wait a minute. So why am I talking about numbers when really makes a difference to them, even though they are getting, they're getting the return on their investment big time. But really what they're sharing is how I make them feel.
That's great.
So what you're saying, and like, if I had invested all my marketing money towards my message that I'm selling this much, I do this, it will be like 2 empty years, right? But after I listened to the people that worked with me and I heard what they're saying about me and how they feel, now I feel comfortable and confident to invest that money on my marketing because now I know my message and I know what I do, why I do. And now I feel 100% confident on my message.
That's great. That's such a good point that you just made, Fernanda, is just, I think what you're saying is basically like staying true to yourself, just staying true to your own story, where you are at in the timeline. Oftentimes somebody's 6 months in, to launching a virtual event or a funnel or building some sort of an online course, but now they want to take examples and they want to take images and crowd shots and stats from somebody that's 10, 15 years down the line. And it's like being a little toddler and you're trying to put on your dad's 2X shirt, and everybody knows, they're like, we've never even heard of you. You're 6 months on the digital landscape and you're trying to push out all of these stats like somebody that's been around, that's an iconic a Tony Robbins or one of these big iconic figures. Mm-hmm. Just like for me, I often share my story. I had no money. I had less than $300 in my bank account. I was living in Los Angeles. I called a friend of mine, Kyle Colbert. He was living in Orlando, and we decided that I would work with his supplement company. So he put me in sales, and I would go around to these nutritional stores to try to get them to carry his dad's supplement line. Now his dad had a lot of notoriety, and his dad was really well known on television and all these things, but nobody recognized that on the supplement. So I would go into these nutritional stores and we'd go to these big expos. I remember we would go to Expo West, and all of the big names from Trader Joe's and Sprouts and Whole Foods it'd be like this massive annual event every year. And we would go to try to get this brand into Vitamin Shop and Costco, all these big and I just honestly didn't have I just didn't do very well, Fernanda, in the sales. I just didn't feel like I was cut out for it. So then he moved me over. He recognized though that I was great with people and that I had an eye for, just kind of public liaison and connecting with the audience, but the sales side of it, like coming in for the hard close, just was not my personality. So I ended up working with his dad. His dad is Dr. Don Colbert. Now, he's like this New York Times best-selling author. He's been on Dr. Oz. He's been on Fox News. And this is where I learned, Fernanda, this man was already multiple millions of copies of his books had been sold. And here they're paying me to work with him. And I'm learning how this huge brand actually is set up behind the scenes. Mm. And I was like, this is amazing. It's almost like paid education. Right. And so from there, I ended up falling in love. And it's kind of a long story. I moved to Nashville. She was involved, the gal I was with was involved with like video production and this whole world of television. So from Dr. Colbert, I learned branding, brand strategy, and then falling in love, I learned, this whole messaging in television and messaging through production. And so within a few years of those two experiences, that's when I started to consult and take what I learned in working with Dr. Colbert and working in the television industry. And I began to take on clients and I had to do, just real quick, I'll say this, I had to do just what you're saying in starting out. I found some of the top, just like high level business leaders within Nashville at some of the top, like Chamber of Commerce. Like I approached Franklin, Tennessee. That's kind of like the Beverly Hills of Nashville. And I said, hey, listen, I would like to come in and offer some of my services because nobody knew me. And I didn't have any I didn't have any wins on the board, Fernanda. And so I would come in and did some video production for them. And then what happened was a couple of Chamber of Commerce, one in particular, some of the other members saw some of my work and saw some of my video production and saw some of the things I did with elements of branding and creative assets. And they didn't know that I did it for free. They just knew that I had worked with a high level organization that was respected in the community. So the next thing you know, I go over and I end up landing an account, one of my first large accounts, and starting off ended up being a fitness franchise. And their competitor in Nashville was Planet Fitness. That's who they competed with in Nashville. But I didn't get that by coming in boasting to them about all of my stats and how awesome I is. I actually, somebody said
your way.
Somebody said, focus on the outcome, not the income.
Mm-hmm.
My focus was on getting them results. So I focused on the outcome, and I found if you focus on helping people get outcome, the income will always follow.
That's true. That's so true. That's so true. And, just to kind of tie all of that, what we talked about today with the virtual events is if you have your brand that's strong at the very beginning of your message, you will attract the right clients. That when you make that offer, you will speak to them because they already saw who you are. They already had that feeling, and they already liked from the beginning. They recognized, they could see themselves working with you. Mm-hmm. And now making the sell, of course, there's other parts of it, like an offer, but at least the brand is doing the right job of bringing the right people. And,
absolutely,
like taking away that work that you have to do. So it's basically a pre-qualification. When you're doing your events, it's better for you to have 200 people in your event that are qualified, that came in, that know who you are. They identify with your brand, with your message. Then making that event a successful event, it's easier than if you attract the wrong people, and trying to sell to the wrong people, it's always harder. So thank you so much, Tiger, for sharing everything that you shared here with us today. And Tiger has two amazing gifts for us. One of them is if you already registered for this workshop, for this experience, you will get the branding before advertising and why. And also, if you join us for the VIP offer, the VIP experience, you will get how to sell an online course. And this is a module inside of his paid program that he's gifting. It's a 6 videos inside of his paid program that he's going to be sharing with everybody that joins the VIP experience. And as for action item or your action step, Tiger, what would you like the audience to share in the group that you can support them, give them feedback on? Maybe what their brand is?
Yeah, maybe you could, in the group, if you wanted to talk about your number one biggest challenge when it comes to building a brand, and be transparent, because maybe your question is, it always takes that one bold person that says, hey, and what you'll find is in a group like what Fernanda has set up, other people have often the same question or a similar question, but it always just takes that one person that is just courageous enough to share and say, you know what, I'm really stuck here, or I'm really having a challenge, or I really don't understand this. So maybe a challenge that you've had with branding as it results to virtual events or funnels or just overall. And then we can get inside of the group there and help answer that for you. I'd be happy to.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Tiger. I appreciate it. And thank you for sharing all your knowledge.
All right. Thanks for having me. All right. We'll hope to see you guys next time.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.